houses of parliament. Our constitution came into being in 1950. The two houses were constituted for the first time in 1952. If you take this period from say 52 to 82, we had a certain standard British model of parliaments working, and that was going on. Some major changes came about then in the 1990s. The first was when Mr. Shivraj Patil was the speaker, he instituted the committee system. Now in the 80s, I had seen the Bundestag committees at work. I had also traveled to Britain and I had looked at the British parliamentary committees. Working through committees is the only way forward, because in major democracies, we have parliaments where the lower house has the strength of 500 or more. An assembly of 500 people, I don't think cannot seriously debate anything. So that is how it started with the German Bundestag committee, which are very efficient committees. And they aid the process of development and they go alongside the government in doing work. So India started the system of working through committees in 1993. The other major development that happened around that time was televising of parliament. What happens is, in a nation of 1,300 million people, you have probably 100 or 150 seats in the public gallery. Suppose you do not televise the proceedings. Imagine some 100 people can come and watch your proceedings in a day. So this disconnect between people and their parliament had to end. It ended with the televising of parliament. With the televising of parliament, people say that now that you have televised it, there are these members of parliament who are going to dance around just to appeal to their constituencies, or do some gimmick or whatever it is. That is the flip side. On the other side, everyone noticed that our MPs dressed better. They really started looking good because they were on camera every day. That sloppiness of the past disappeared. And there were many other advantages. The biggest advantage is we are a democracy. We ought to know how our members, how our representatives work. So that was another major change. So therefore, one of the important aspects of committee system was to encourage specialization among MPs, which was not there earlier. So that is setting in. But all said and done, I must tell you, it is one of the toughest jobs in the world to be a member of the Indian Lower House of Parliament, because you represent something like 2.5 million people, and it's not a joke. And in an underdeveloped or developing situation, what happens is you are under constant pressure from people who need your help for personal things. I have spent time with German MPs, British MPs. I have spent a lot of time with Indian MPs. I will tell you the difference. The German MP, they call it surgery for some reason. That is when they meet their constituents. And usually standard, it's a Saturday morning, say 11 to 1 or 9 to 11 or whatever, it's 2 hours. So he's in the constituency, constituents can come and meet him. If they have some problems, address it. In India, if the MP is in the constituency, the bus will be there the previous night itself, when the MP is here. The door opens at 8 in the morning. There's no privacy in an Indian MP's house. I mean, there are 80-100 people around in his house, all over the time, in front, around. Once the doors open, they are constantly streaming it. It goes on till 9-10 in the night. Very few people understand the pressures which people put on MPs. We all know what MPs do, what they ought not to do. That we are all aware of. We know of corruption, we know of inefficiency, incompetence, we know many things about our MPs. But what we don't know or don't realize is what we as a people do to our MPs. This is the difference between a developing society like India and a developed one like, say, something in Scandinavia or the US or Canada or somewhere, where an MP on the day when he is going to meet his constituents, I have seen that in Germany, during the week there are 3 or 4 constituents who had sought appointments from his secretary and who went and met him. This is the difference. In India, there is a steady stream. From morning to night, there are about 100 people in his compound, in and out. And the other thing about the Indian context is that because of underdevelopment, poverty, and so many things, and the constant pressure to get some shifarish for getting something done, everyone's coming with some personal request to the MP. In a more developed society, those requests are community requests. Like, in Edison, we must have a new stadium or whatever it is. These are not personal things. In India, most of the people who come to their representatives come with personal requests. They want the son-in-law to be posted somewhere. They want. I have witnessed this. He says, "Sir, my truck was seized last night. So can you call the superintendent of police?" Okay, so why was your truck seized? Overload. Okay, man, but why this overload on your truck? Sir, we'll settle that afterwards. Thoda ek phone kar dijiye. Indian MPs also, I must tell you, and just on a lighter side, our members of parliament, though we run them down on many issues, as I said, there are some great qualities about them because they deal with this kind of volume. And everyone comes with a personal request. So, I was in Vijayawada, Shobhanadrishwara Rao, he was a Telugu Desam MP from Vijayawada. While doing my book, which is called What Ails Indian Parliament, I spent 3-4 days with 7 members of parliament in their constituencies. So morning 8 o'clock, once he comes into his drawing room, I am with him, sitting beside him, just observing what happens. So this guy came, he said, what is it? He said, "Sir, I have applied for this post of fireman in Vijayawada." He said, "Very good, so what is to be done?" "No, the superintendent of police is the chairman of the committee. So just, can you call him and say, I am your man and he must, in the interview, he must pass me and get me the job." Shobhanadrishwar Rao said, "Okay, tell me, what kind of implements or equipment does a fireman use to fight fire?" This guy was flabbergasted. He said, "I have no idea." He said, "Go to the Central Library, Vijayawada. Learn as much as you can about firefighting and come back to me in the evening. If you pass my test, then I will also do something for you." This is the kind of, it's not as if every politician or this thing is irresponsible. They have their own ways of dealing with it. In another context, there was Era Anbarasu. He was a member of Chennai, member of parliament from Chennai. This guy came and there were some 60-70 people in the room. And he started distributing milk to everybody. He brought a can of milk. This can happen only in the Indian context. So I said, "What is this?" He said, no, this fellow had a problem with the municipal authorities. I have sought that out. He's a milkman. So he wants to give milk to everyone. Then there was another person who came. He said, "What is it?" He said, "Sir, today 4 o'clock, Air India, some post. I'm going for the interview. Will you call the manager on Mount Road and tell him?" These MPs also have a way of addressing everybody, not just the fellow who's in front of them. So he turned to everyone and said, "Tell me, do you think this fellow will get this job as a manager in Air India?" Most of them said, "No, I don't think he will." So why? Because he's so sloppily dressed. He said, "Listen, first go, wear a fresh ironed shirt, polish your shoes, wear some neat clothes, and then go to the interview and come back. Afterwards, we'll see what we can do." So these are my experiences. There are hundreds of such situations. But in a country like India, with all these complexities, in the midst of all this, a member of parliament who is a member of a finance committee or a telecom committee has very serious work to do in the committee also, which a small percentage of them do.